Hello everyone, my name is Banerjee and today I want to talk about my journey to a 730 in GMAT. First, let us set up the timeline. I decided to appear for the GMAT in late January 2019. I started studying for the GMAT in early February 2019 and I appeared for the examination on 15th of June 2019. So that gave me about 4.5 months for preparation. Now the one thing that I want to mention at this point is that I was working for 7 years and for the last 5.5 years I had no experience of studying or preparing for any kind of examination. So if you're someone who had been actively involved in some sort of academic activity in the last couple of years or so, you're already at a better position than I was when I started preparing. Now the first thing that I did in February 2019 was get material. Now there's a lot of material available online, free of course, but I felt that they were just not enough to cut it. So I ordered myself a few books and then I started solving questions from these books. Now something I want to talk about here is, we all know in the actual GMAT examination, the questions, they appear on a computer screen and they're not really printed on a piece of paper. Now that might not make a lot of difference for some people, but for me, I get very distracted while reading something off a computer screen. I have to often read it twice or even thrice to actually soak in the information that has been provided. So I felt early on that if I keep practicing questions from the book, which is basically printed papers, I might face a lot of difficulty in the actual examinations. So luckily the books that I had bought had these codes, which when you go onto their website and put in, you basically get the entire material of the books online. And another good thing about these websites is that they basically give you the option of selecting the difficulty levels of the questions that you want to practice. They help you build very small mini tests of maybe 20 questions, and the format in which these questions appear is very much identical to the actual GMAT examination, in the sense that there is this timer at the top which lets you time each and every question. Now, when you are pressed against time in your preparation for any examination, the first thing to do would be to understand which are the areas in which you're pretty good and which are the areas where you need a lot of work. And that's exactly what I did. I purchased a couple of test series. These consisted of 7 tests each, and I made sure to take one test every weekend. So with about 2 weeks of preparation, I took my first mock GMAT. What it revealed to me is that I needed considerable amount of work in verbal, and when it came to quant, I was simply slow. I was able to solve the problems, but I was taking a lot of time. Now this was basically because I was doing a lot of math. I was doing a lot of unnecessary calculations that you wouldn't have to do if you know a few basic rules of mathematics, which we were all taught in our school days, but I had forgotten. Now, among the books that I had bought, one had very basic mathematical questions, the kind of questions you wouldn't find on an actual GMAT. But I started solving questions from that book because it basically helped me remember all those little theorems and rules that are going to help me in the more complex questions that appear on the GMAT. One more thing that I did to improve my time in quant was to review the answers that I had done correctly. You see, what happens many times, we solve a problem in a certain way, but there are other possible ways to solve that particular problem which might take lesser time, and that actually helped me a lot. Now, when it came to verbal, I realized that I needed work in both sentence correction and analytical reasoning. Now, for both of these topics, I basically did a YouTube search, and there are a lot of videos out there which help you understand how to tackle these kind of questions. I must have seen about 50 to 55 videos on YouTube, and I would say those videos really helped me get better in these two topics. Now, for reading comprehension, I was facing the same problem once again. I would read the passage off the computer screen, but it just wouldn't register. and I would have to read it twice or maybe thrice to be able to answer the questions. It was taking a lot of time. Sadly, there was no easy way around it, and it only improved with practice over time. Now, about the other two parts of the examination, the integrated reasoning and the analytical writing. Now, I did not practice the integrated reasoning at all. Even during the mock tests, I would often just randomly click on different options and end the examination, because it was difficult for me to have 3 to 4 hours free time to take a mock test. So I would just, not pay much attention to the answers that I was selecting in the integrated reasoning. But I did practice enough, and especially during the analysis of the mock tests that I had taken, to be able to solve problems while drawing information from different sources. Now, as far as analytical writing is concerned, I referred a few online examples and understood the basic structure that I was going to use when I would write my essay during the examination. And I also saw a few examples to understand the kind of arguments that are generally provided and the kind of gaps or errors that we need to find in them. Now, this was the strategy that I had in mind, but to be really honest with you all, 2 to 3 weeks into my preparation, I realized that I wasn't making any progress. I was working on it, but I could see no change in my scores when I took the mock examinations. Now, what I was doing is that I was studying for 4 to 5 days a week, not more than that. And this approach might actually work for a lot of people, but for me, it was not working. Because every time I would take a break, maybe spend a day or two without studying, on the third day, when I tried to get back to it, I felt like I had gone back in terms of preparation. I was worse than I had left myself off 2 days back. So I soon realized that in order to have any actual progress in my preparation, I would have to study every day. Now, this was really difficult for me. I work in a customer service field, which means that I'm gonna have to be available on my phone 24/7. And on top of that, I would spend somewhere around 10 to 12 hours every day at work. So the only time that I had to myself was 9 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. Now, this also had a considerable effect on my social life. It was only about 2 days before the actual examination that I paid attention to the detail that during the examination I wouldn't get paper to do my calculations. I would actually get a paper which is laminated, and I would have to work with marker pens on them. Now again, for many people that might not be a problem, but for me it was a huge problem. The feel of writing on paper is completely different than writing on a laminated sheet with marker pens. And it distracted me and slowed me down during the examination.